Commander Zethkri stood before the massive holographic display in the Galactic Defense Force headquarters, his forearms crossed in obvious displeasure. The blue-skinned Alteron officer's crest flared with annoyance as he studied the personnel files floating before him. "These are the reinforcements Terra Prime is sending us?" he asked, his voice carrying the clicking undertones of his species. "Humans with projectile weapons?" Captain Vextar, a reptilian Sauric with scales that shifted from green to amber when amused, let out what could only be described as a laugh. "Not just any projectile weapons, Commander. They call themselves snipers. They claim they can eliminate targets from distances exceeding 2 kilometers using metal slugs." The assembled officers in the briefing chamber erupted in various sounds that, despite coming from a dozen different species, all conveyed the same emotion: amusement. The Kralix delegation buzzed with their insectoid clicks, while the crystalline Vorthak chimed in harmonious mockery. "Metal slugs," repeated General Herthak, the massive bear-like commander of the 4th Galactic Legion. "While our enemies possess energy shields, plasma barriers, and adaptive armor systems. This is what the humans consider advanced warfare." Zethkri manipulated the holographic controls with 2 of his arms while keeping the other 2 crossed. The display shifted to show Earth's military history, filled with images of humans carrying long-barreled weapons across various terrains. "According to their files," he continued, "these snipers have been effective in their primitive conflicts on Terra Prime, wars fought with chemical explosives and kinetic weapons." He paused for dramatic effect. "Against other humans." The laughter grew louder. Lieutenant Kixenol, a young Alteron with barely formed crest ridges, raised one of her arms tentatively. "Sir, their accuracy statistics are ... impressive. Some claim single-shot eliminations at ranges exceeding 3 kilometers. On their own planet," Vextar interjected, "against unshielded targets using basic armor. Have they ever faced a draconic assault trooper in powered armor? A Kralix swarm with personal deflector fields?" He gestured with one clawed hand toward the tactical display. "We're fighting the hegemony, not other humans throwing metal at each other." The hegemony? Even the name carried weight in the chamber. For 15 years, the alliance of 12 aggressive species had been pushing against Galactic Defense Force territory, overwhelming traditional tactics with their adaptive technology and ruthless efficiency. Every battle was a struggle for survival, every victory measured in systems rather than planets. "The humans will learn quickly enough," General Herthak rumbled, his deep voice causing the chamber's walls to vibrate slightly. "When their primitive weapons bounce harmlessly off hegemony shielding, perhaps they'll understand why the galaxy has moved beyond throwing metal projectiles." Zethkri dismissed the holographic display with a wave of one hand. "Nevertheless, they've been assigned to the Kepler sector offensive. Standard protocol applies. They'll be integrated into existing units as support personnel. Perhaps their ... enthusiasm will compensate for their technological disadvantages." 3 days later, the GDF transport ship Stellar Harmony dropped out of hyperspace near the contested world of Kepler 442b. The planet had been under hegemony control for 6 months, its strategic mining facilities providing rare metals essential for their war machine. Reclaiming it was crucial to the galactic war effort. In the ship's cargo bay, Staff Sergeant Maria Santos checked her rifle for the dozenth time since departure. The M2010 enhanced sniper weapon system was a far cry from the energy weapons carried by her new alien allies, but it had never failed her in 8 years of service. "Think they'll ever stop staring?" asked Corporal Jake Morrison, nodding toward a group of Alteron soldiers who had been watching the human contingent with barely concealed amusement. "Let them stare," replied Sergeant First Class David Chun, adjusting the scope on his weapon. "Actions speak louder than words in any language." The human sniper team consisted of 12 specialists, each with years of combat experience on Earth. They had volunteered for the Galactic Defense Force integration program, knowing they would face ridicule and doubt. None of them had expected the level of dismissive humor they encountered. Santos watched as a squad of Sauric commandos practiced with their plasma rifles, hitting holographic targets that materialized and vanished in microseconds. Their weapons hummed with energy, leaving glowing scorches on the practice range's energy-absorbing walls. Impressive, she admitted to herself, but she had noticed something during their demonstrations that the aliens seemed to overlook. Every shot was the same. The plasma bolts traveled in predictable arcs, their energy signatures visible to any detection system. The weapons were undeniably powerful, but they announced their presence like fireworks in a dark sky. "Attention all personnel," Commander Zethkrius' voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "We will commence orbital insertion in 30 minutes. All units report to designated staging areas." The briefing chamber buzzed with activity as hundreds of soldiers from a dozen species prepared for battle. Holographic displays showed the planet's surface, highlighting hegemony positions and GDF objectives. "Intelligence indicates moderate resistance," Zethkri announced, his four arms working different control panels simultaneously. "The hegemony has established 3 primary defensive positions around the mining complex. Standard assault protocol applies: overwhelming firepower, rapid advancement, minimal casualties." He gestured toward a section of the display showing a mountainous region overlooking the mining facility. "Observation Post Alpha will provide overwatch for the main assault. This position will be held by—" He paused, checking his datapad. "The human sniper contingent." A ripple of amused clicks and chimes went through the assembled alien forces. "They're putting the humans on babysitting duty," Morrison whispered to his teammates. "Observation only," Zethkri continued. "Report enemy movements and provide situation updates to command. Under no circumstances are you to engage enemy forces directly. Your weapons lack the necessary penetration power for hegemony armor systems." Santos felt her jaw clench, but she remained silent. Around her, the other human snipers showed similar restraint. Though she could see the frustration in their eyes, General Herthek stepped forward, his massive frame dwarfing the holographic display. "The main assault will be conducted by experienced units using appropriate weapons for modern warfare. Victory will come through proven galactic tactics, not primitive projectile weapons." As the briefing concluded and units began moving toward their transport pods, Captain Vexstar approached the human contingent with what could have been a sympathetic expression on his reptilian features. "Do not take offense at the assignment," he said, his English carrying a slight hissing accent. "Observation is crucial to battle success. Your limited capabilities make direct combat inadvisable." Santos stepped forward, her voice carefully controlled. "Understood, Captain. We'll do our job." "I am certain you will attempt to," Vexstar replied, missing the subtle edge in her tone entirely. "Should you encounter any enemy forces during observation, retreat immediately and call for support. Hegemony soldiers are not the primitive humans you fought on your homeworld." The transport pod that carried the human snipers to Observation Post Alpha was cramped and utilitarian, designed for rapid deployment rather than comfort. Through the small viewport, Santos watched the planet's surface rush past red stone formations, crystalline deposits, and the sprawling industrial complex that was their ultimate objective. "Drop zone in 60 seconds, the pod's automated system announced in the universal trade language, followed by translations in a dozen species-specific tongues. The landing was rougher than the smooth insertion Santos was accustomed to on Earth, but the pod's gravitic dampeners absorbed most of the impact. As the access ramp lowered, the human snipers emerged into the thin atmosphere of Kepler 442b, their suits automatically adjusting to the environmental conditions. Observation Post Alpha was exactly what its name suggested, a rocky outcropping 3 kilometers from the mining complex, with excellent sight lines and minimal cover. Perfect for observation, terrible for survival if discovered. "Home sweet home," muttered Corporal Lisa Zhang, the team's spotter and communications specialist. She immediately began setting up long-range communication equipment while the others established firing positions. Santos positioned herself behind a natural rock formation, her rifle's bipod steady on the stone surface. Through her scope, the mining complex appeared as a collection of geometric structures and energy barriers, bustling with activity that even at this distance appeared distinctly non-human. Command. This is Observer 1, Zhang spoke into her communication headset. Observation post Alpha established and operational. Clear sight lines to primary objective. Acknowledged, Observer 1, came Zethkri's reply, slightly distorted by atmospheric interference. Report any significant enemy activity. Main assault commences in 4 hours. The waiting began. For 3 hours, the human snipers watched and cataloged hegemony activities through their scopes. Santos counted patrol patterns, noting the distinctive powered armor worn by different species within the enemy coalition. The draconic shock troopers with their energy-reflective. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted her breathing, allowing her heart rate to slow as she fine-tuned her rifle position. Through the scope, the hegemony commander remained in perfect view, his ornate armor gleaming as he gestured toward different sections of the battlefield. The alien showed no awareness that death was studying him from 3.5 kilometers away. Santos, what are you thinking? Corporal Morrison asked quietly, noticing her shift in posture. I'm thinking, she replied, her voice steady and focused, that sometimes observation includes removing obstacles to better observe the results. The mathematics of the shot ran through her mind like a familiar equation. Distance, 3,547 meters. Wind speed, 12 kilometers per hour, crosswind from the northeast. Planetary gravity, 1.1 Earth standard. Atmospheric pressure, 0.87 Earth sea level. Target movement, minimal. Predictable pattern every 43 seconds. All factors that would make an energy weapon shot impossible at this range. But well within the capabilities of a properly zeroed kinetic projectile, Santos exhaled slowly, allowing her body to find its natural respiratory pause. At the bottom of her breath, with her pulse steady and her hands rock solid, she squeezed the trigger. The rifle's report echoed across the rocky landscape, a sharp crack that seemed insignificant compared to the energy weapon's fire painting the sky around the mining complex. To galactic ears, accustomed to the hum and sizzle of plasma weapons, it sounded almost primitive. 3.5 seconds later, the 7.62 millimeters projectile completed its journey. The hegemony commander simply ceased to exist from the chest up. His elaborate armor, designed to deflect energy beams and absorb plasma bursts, offered no protection against a metal projectile traveling at nearly 3 times the speed of sound. The kinetic energy transfer was catastrophic and instantaneous. For several seconds, the enemy forces around the command position didn't react. The concept of death arriving silently from an impossible distance was so foreign to modern warfare that their minds couldn't immediately process what they had witnessed. Then, the screaming started. Holy shit, Morrison breathed, watching through his own scope as chaos erupted around the former command position. Santos, did you just ... I observed a high-value target, she replied calmly, working the bolt to chamber another round. And I observed what happened when kinetic energy was applied to his center mass. Corporal Zhang was staring at her communication equipment in confusion. Command is going crazy on the radio. They're demanding to know what kind of orbital strike just hit the enemy command center. Through her scope, Santos tracked a second hegemony officer who was attempting to restore order to the command position. This one was wearing even more elaborate armor, with energy field projectors that created a shimmering barrier around his form. Standard galactic wisdom held that such protection made him effectively invulnerable to direct fire at long range. Standard galactic wisdom had never encountered a determined human sniper. Santos made minute adjustments to her aim point, accounting for the energy field's refraction effect on her scope's optics. The barrier might deflect energy weapons, but it wouldn't stop a physical projectile traveling at supersonic velocities. Her second shot arrived 4 seconds after firing. The energy barrier sparked and collapsed as the projectile punched through it like tissue paper. taking the alien officer's primary communication array and most of his torso with it. Secondary explosions erupted as his equipment overloaded, adding to the confusion and terror spreading through the hegemony defensive positions. Observer 1. This is command, Sethkriya's voice crackled urgently through their headsets. Report your status immediately. Our sensors detected massive kinetic impacts at the enemy command position, but we show no orbital fire missions in your sector. Zhang looked at Santos, who was already tracking a third target through her scope. Command Observer 1. We are continuing to observe enemy activities. The command structure appears to be experiencing significant disruption. Observer 1, explain the nature of these kinetic impacts immediately. Our tactical sensors show no GDF weapons capable of generating such effects at that range. Santos paused her target acquisition to consider her response. Through her peripheral vision, she could see Morrison and the other snipers watching her with a mixture of admiration and concern. They all knew that breaking direct orders carried severe consequences, even when those orders made no tactical sense. Zhang, tell command that we're conducting enhanced reconnaissance, she decided, and that we've identified the reason for their tactical difficulties. Before Zhang could respond, Sergeant Chen's voice cut across their position. Multiple contacts incoming fast. Looks like we got their attention. Santos swiveled her scope to scan the terrain between their position and the mining complex. 3 vehicles were racing across the rocky landscape, their anti-gravity drives kicking up clouds of red dust. Hegemony rapid response teams moving to eliminate whoever had just decapitated their command structure. Command Observer 1. Zhang spoke rapidly into her headset. We have immediate contact with enemy forces. 3 vehicles, approximately 60 personnel, closing on our position. Observer 1, withdraw immediately, came Zethkriya's sharp reply. You are not equipped for direct engagement. Evac shuttles are being dispatched. Santos studied the approaching vehicles through her scope. They were moving fast, but in predictable patterns across open ground. The lead vehicle carried what appeared to be a squad leader, identifiable by the communication equipment and tactical displays visible through the vehicle's transparent canopy. Negative. Command, she replied, settling her crosshairs on the lead vehicle. We are equipped exactly right. Her third shot shattered the vehicle's canopy and eliminated its commander in a spray of alien anatomy and equipment fragments. The vehicle immediately veered out of control, slamming into a rock formation at high speed. The explosion sent debris across the landscape and caused the other 2 vehicles to scatter, their predictable formation broken. What in the name of the core worlds, came General Herthek's voice over the command channel, is happening at Observation Post Alpha? Morrison had his own rifle up now, tracking the second vehicle as it attempted to find cover behind a small ridge. Santos, permission to join the party? Granted, she replied, lining up her next shot on the third vehicle. Let's show them what Earth tactical doctrine looks like. Morrison's rifle cracked half a second before Santos, both shots finding their marks with precision that would have been impossible for energy weapons at such range. The second vehicle's drive system exploded as Morrison's projectile punched through its power core, while Santos' shot eliminated another squad leader, who had been attempting to coordinate their assault. The remaining hegemony forces abandoned their vehicles and scattered into whatever cover they could find among the rocky terrain. From organized assault force to panicked survivors in less than 2 minutes, a transformation that would have required massive orbital bombardment using conventional galactic tactics. Observer 1. This is Captain Vexstar, came a new voice over their communication system. The Sauric officer sounded genuinely confused. Please explain how you are engaging targets at ranges exceeding 3 kilometers. Our tactical computers show no GDF weapons capable of such performance. Santos allowed herself a slight smile as she scanned for additional targets through her scope. Captain, we're not using GDF weapons. We're using human weapons. That is impossible, Vexstar replied immediately. Human projectile weapons lack the velocity and accuracy for precision engagement at such ranges. Tell that to the Hegemony command staff, Morrison interjected, having spotted another enemy position. His next shot punctured an armored observation post, causing its occupants to abandon their position in obvious terror. Through her scope, Santos could see the effects of their intervention spreading across the battlefield. The main GDF assault force, which had been pinned down by coordinated hegemony fire, was suddenly facing an enemy in complete disarray. Without centralized command and with their rapid response teams eliminated, the defensive positions were operating independently. Command. Observer 1, Zhang reported, monitoring her tactical displays. Enemy coordination has collapsed. This would be an excellent time for the main assault to advance. There was a long pause before Zethkri responded. Observer 1, maintain your current observation activities while we assess the tactical situation. Santos grinned at the careful phrasing. The alien commander couldn't bring himself to acknowledge what was actually happening. But he wasn't stupid enough to interfere with success. Over the next 30 minutes, the human sniper team systematically dismantled the hegemony defensive structure. Every time enemy forces attempted to re-establish command and control, a precisely placed shot would eliminate their leadership. Every time they tried to coordinate defensive fire, their communication equipment would explode in showers of sparks in alien biology. The psychological effect was devastating. Hegemony soldiers, trained to fight against energy weapons with predictable ballistic characteristics, found themselves facing an invisible enemy that could strike without warning from impossible distances. Their armor, their shields, their technological advantages, none of it mattered against projectiles that arrive fast. 3 weeks after the Kepler 442b operation, Staff Sergeant Maria Santos found herself in an environment she had never expected to experience. A packed auditorium in the Galactic Defense Force's primary training facility, with representatives from 43 different species hanging on her every word. The key principle, she explained, manipulating a holographic display that showed ballistic trajectories, is that kinetic projectiles follow predictable physics, but only if you account for all environmental variables. Wind speed, gravity variation, atmospheric density, target movement, and planetary rotation all affect trajectory. In the front row, Commander Zethkri's forearms worked frantically to record every detail. Behind him, Captain Vexstar leaned forward with obvious fascination, his reptilian features focused intently on the technical specifications Santos was providing. The transformation in their attitudes had been dramatic and complete. Question? Came a buzzing voice from the insectoid Kralix delegation. How do human optical systems acquire targets at ranges exceeding standard sensor capability? Santos smiled. 3 weeks ago, that same delegation had been clicking with amusement at human primitive weapons. Now they were taking detailed notes on human tactical doctrine. Training and experience, she replied. Human snipers spend years developing the ability to identify and engage targets that other species might miss. We learn to read terrain, predict movement patterns, and calculate solutions for scenarios your computer systems can't analyze fast enough. But surely, interrupted a crystalline Vorthak officer, technological targeting systems provide superior accuracy? Only when they work, Morrison interjected from his position near the demonstration equipment. Electronic systems can be jammed, hacked, or destroyed. Human snipers operate effectively regardless of technological interference. To prove his point, Morrison hefted his rifle and moved to a firing position overlooking the facility's testing range. A target had been positioned at 2,800 meters, well beyond the maximum effective range of standard galactic small arms. Traditional engagement, he announced, settling behind his weapon. No electronic assistance, no targeting computers, no energy signatures to detect. The rifle's report echoed through the chamber as Morrison sent his shot downrange. 3 seconds later, the target exploded in a shower of practice material. Eliminated with surgical precision, the assembled alien officers erupted in various sounds of amazement. That level of accuracy should be impossible without computer assistance, muttered General Herthak, his massive frame shifting uncomfortably in his specially reinforced seat. "General," Santos replied respectfully, "humans developed these capabilities over thousands of years of warfare. We learned to hunt and fight long before we had computers to help us." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Emergency lighting bathed the chamber in red. Illumination as automated systems announced, "Urgent tactical updates. All personnel to emergency stations," came the facility. Commander's voice over the communication system. "We have reports of hegemony forces approaching the Centauri defense grid. This is not a drill." The assembled officers began moving toward the exits with practiced efficiency. But Santos noticed something troubling. Despite their interest in human tactics, most of the alien species were defaulting to standard galactic defensive protocols, centralized command, energy weapon deployments, and predictable formation fighting. "Commander Zethkri," she called out. "Permission to speak freely?" The Alteron commander paused, his forearms gesturing for the other officers to wait. "Granted, Sergeant Santos." "Sir, the Centauri defense grid is perfect terrain for human sniper operations. If you're facing a major hegemony assault, our tactical capabilities could be extremely valuable." Zethkri's crest flared thoughtfully. "Explain." Santos moved to the tactical display, bringing up a detailed map of the Centauri system's defensive positions. The grid consists of 17 asteroid fortifications connected by patrol routes. Hegemony doctrine calls for systematic reduction of each position using overwhelming firepower. Exactly. The kind of predictable approach that human tactics are designed to counter. "You're suggesting," General Herthak rumbled, "that 12 human snipers could influence a battle involving thousands of combatants?" "I'm suggesting," Santos replied firmly, "that 12 human snipers in the right positions could eliminate the command structure directing those thousands of combatants. Remove the leadership, disrupt the coordination, and even superior numbers become manageable." Captain Vextar stepped forward, his scaled features showing obvious interest. "The hegemony has never faced tactical decapitation at the ranges human weapons can achieve. Their command protocols assume safe operational distances based on galactic weapon capabilities." "Exactly," Morrison agreed. "They'll position their commanders where energy weapons can't reach them, never realizing that kinetic projectiles can cover twice that distance with equal accuracy." Commander Zethkri considered for several long seconds, his forearms moving in complex gestures that Santos had learned indicated deep thought among Alteron officers. "Very well," he decided. "Human sniper teams will be integrated into the Centauri defense plan. But understand, this will be your largest test yet. The hegemony is committing significant forces to this assault. Failure here could result in the loss of our most important defensive position." "Sir," Santos replied with quiet confidence, "human snipers don't fail when the stakes matter." 6 hours later, Santos found herself in a position she was beginning to consider routine, perched on an asteroid 3,000 kilometers from the main battle zone, watching enemy forces through her rifle scope while alien commanders expressed disbelief at her weapons capabilities. The Centauri defense grid was under full assault. Hegemony forces had arrived in overwhelming numbers. Nearly 200 assault craft supported by capital, ships that dwarfed anything in the GDF fleet. Their strategy was exactly what Santos had predicted: systematic reduction of defensive positions using superior firepower and coordinated attacks. Observer: teams report enemy command ships maintaining position at maximum safe distance, reported the grid's tactical coordinator, a nervous young Alteron whose crest barely showed adult coloring. "Approximately 8,000 kilometers from the nearest defensive position." 8,000 kilometers, Morrison observed from his own sniper position on a neighboring asteroid. "They really don't understand kinetic weapons, do they?" Through her scope, Santos could see the massive hegemony command vessel that was coordinating the entire assault. Its bridge was clearly visible through reinforced transparent sections, with officers moving between tactical displays and communication stations. The ship was positioned where no energy weapon in the galactic arsenal could threaten it, but well within the theoretical range of human sniper systems, theoretical being the key word. "Santos," came General Herthaka's voice over the command channel, "our tactical computers indicate that your maximum demonstrated range is 4,000 meters under atmospheric conditions. You are now proposing to engage targets at twice that distance in vacuum." "General," she replied, making minute adjustments to her scope settings, "vacuum actually simplifies the calculations. No atmospheric interference, no wind resistance, predictable ballistic trajectory. The only complications are target movement and the need for extremely precise range finding. And if you miss?" Santos smiled grimly. "Then we'll have learned something about the maximum effective range of human weapons in space combat." She had been studying the command ship for 20 minutes, cataloging movement patterns and identifying key personnel. The vessel's commander was easily recognizable, a massive, draconic officer whose scaled hide was adorned with the kind of elaborate rank insignia that screamed high-value target to anyone with sniper training. More importantly, the commander was following predictable patterns, moving between the same tactical stations every few minutes as he coordinated the assault on different sections of the defense grid. Range to target, 8,247 meters. Chun reported from his position at a specialized ranging station. Target movement, consistent pattern, 43-second intervals. Wind resistance, 0. Gravitational effects, minimal and calculated. Projectile flight time, approximately 12 seconds, Santos murmured. Running through her mental checklist, 12 seconds was an eternity in space combat. The target would complete nearly a quarter of his movement cycle before her projectile arrived. Success would require not just accuracy, but prediction of where the target would be when the shot reached him. "Observer 1, this is command." Zethkri's voice carried obvious tension. "Hegemony forces are beginning their assault on Defense Platform 7. If you're going to attempt this shot, now would be optimal timing." Santos settled into her firing position, controlling her breathing despite the artificial atmosphere of her suit. Through her scope, she could see the draconic commander approaching his primary tactical station, the position he had visited most frequently during her observation period. "Firing," she announced calmly, squeezing the trigger at the exact moment when all her calculations aligned. The rifle's recoil was more noticeable in the low-gravity environment. But Santos kept her scope on target, tracking the command ship as her projectile began its 12